I know AJ will like this. So before we talk about baseball, the NBA playoffs are going on right now. Forget that. The NBA draft lottery happened, and the conspiracy theories were flying. I was reading an article.
Well, every time the
night.
Mavs lose like their best player, they get the first pick in the draft. It's like happened 3 times now.
But
it was like the year the Magic got Shaq, and the next year they got Penny.
But do you think that something is getting rigged? It's kind of hard to pull that off.
It's not. The cold ping pong ball, the frozen ping pong ball. You haven't heard the conspiracy theories?
That you can rig the ping pong balls?
Yeah. There's a way, like if you freeze them or something, it goes – I don't know. There's a whole thing about it. If you got to go online, it gets deep. This should be in the weeds.
So should I buy into any of this or believe what I was reading last night, which was how there would have to be a lot of crooks involved to pull something like this off?
All it really needs to be is a couple.
Yeah, but it's not worth the
commissioner and whoever does
the
ping pong ball.
Right.
The juice ain't worth the squeeze. Just because you get the first pick, look at the Sixers. They've squandered that. Just because you get the first pick doesn't mean you're getting Jordan or Shaq.
But Flag is pretty good.
Yeah, but you got to trust the process with the Sixers.
Yeah.
They're still in the process.
12-year process.
Right. Embiid is still trusting the process.
Embiid doesn't trust the process playing.
No.
Embiid doesn't trust his kneecaps.
What about for tanking teams? You got to trust the process with the White Sox.
Yeah, that's the White Sox. And the Rockies are going to get the 10th pick next year.
How about the Orioles? They went through a process. They lost fans for 6 years.
They're losing a lot of games now.
They're losing a lot of games. We're going to talk about them. All right, let's charge the mound and talk about the top record in Major League Baseball right now.
Charging the mound.
And that record belongs to the Detroit Tigers, 29-15, a half game better right now than the Dodgers, 1 game up on the Padres and the Mets. For best overall record in Major League Baseball, they pull off another thrilling win yesterday, despite the play of the year, in my mind, and the call of the year, in my mind.
By
That
Benetti,
came from the visiting broadcaster. Visiting broadcaster.
Oh, I didn't hear the Red Sox one. I was watching.
Red Sox one was good too.
I was watching the Tigers.
So I heard the Red Sox one later. The Tigers one was money, and he had so many little bits and pieces that he added to it, like pinball, and if there was goaltending in baseball, this would be it. He was just on fire. It was one of those where he, had a heat check, Kratz. He was like, let me toss one thing out there that no one else would. Okay, that hit. Let me toss another out there that no one else would. That hit. And then you have to wait for a second and go, this was the visiting broadcast. Some visiting broadcasters still would be like, makes the catch. Oh. And I'm watching, right? And I'm like, this is exciting because especially nowadays, Kratz, a lot of people do watch, from other places on like MLB.TV. And so sometimes you don't get to choose the broadcast the way you want. And Jason Benetti delivered, but really also so did Cedar Rafaela and Wilyer Abreu. They look like they finish each other's sentences.
It looked like wiffle ball in the backyard. Like this is like the joy, everybody's joy and reaction. It wasn't the nonchalant, like, whatever, bro, like pound your chest, look at me. Like it looked like wiffle ball in the backyard where you can't go over a certain line and you got to like jump to knock it back in and your buddy's there just trying to make the catch. I loved it.
It was great. It was one of the better catches. It was one of the coolest catches. You can't really call it a great catch because it was such a clunky, like kind of niche catch, but it was a cool catch just because the way that Abreu brought it back. And then why was Rafaela? Think how far Rafaela had to run to get there. And he was right there perfectly. Now you've seen guys pop them up and in the infield and other guys catch it, but you never see this in the outfield. So for him to jump up, Hendricks, they just tied the game. Hendricks was like, oh, it's 6-5. I'm giving it up. And then that, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, Hendricks says some words we can't repeat on the show. But, I mean, and then Benetti's call and Andy Dirks was his color guy, was just perfect. And Benetti pinball and saying all the things he said. It was one of the – and the Tigers won. But the interesting part about the Tigers winning, our boy Jahan was the one who got the hit.
Yep.
Not Javi Baez. They had a runner on third and no outs. And they strike out pop-up, I believe. And then Jahan came up with the hit with 2 outs. So The Tigers are doing it right now. They're doing it.
They're really good.
They're fun to watch. They make adjustments. I know big league teams make adjustments, and really good teams, really good lineups make adjustments through the game, and they they attack, like the Dodgers just attack like weaknesses in teams' bullpens, like guys are tipping. It looks like the Tigers, when you watch an entire game, they feed off of each other's at-bats, and they just wear teams down to the point where they get to that situation. I thought they were going to blow it, and they were going to go into extras, but obviously Jay Henn comes through with a huge knot. It just seems like they're always putting themselves in situations to knock the pitcher out, get the winning hit, start a rally, whatever it is. They're fun to watch.
Obviously, Scooble's being Scooble.
Scooble pitched really good. Scooble won my lock last night he got the one out he needed, and he was rolling. And I was like, easy. And then all of a sudden he gave up 3 runs like out of nowhere, and it was 5-5. And Tommy Canley, our guy, came in, threw changeups and got out of it. Bases loaded, I think 1 out, got out of it, got a double play. And then they went on to hold them off until they scored. But the Tigers are playing great, man. The Tigers, it's hard for me not to say the Tigers are the best team in the American League right now. It's hard to. They are. I think they are.
The second best record in the American League belongs to the Yankees. Those are 2 very different looking teams.
The Tigers are like the young, energetic, and the Yankees are more like the older, we're just going to bludgeon you to death because we know what we're doing. Whereas the Tigers are just fun to watch, man.
Yeah.
They
Yankees
are fun
power.
as hell to watch.
Yankees are just power. It's power.
Yeah.
Tigers have a more dynamic team. They do a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, they're more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't argue with that. I think they're playing the best. Do you believe they're the best built team? That would be my only question. Do you think they're built better than the Yankees? Or you could even ask the question, it might be a different answer. Do you think they're built better to have more success in the postseason when you're only facing Tarek Skubal to, Brendan Hanafy to Tommy Canley to, the best of the best from every team?
Tigers will be fine, I think.
For me in the
American I think the Tigers will be fine because they have
better.
I think the Tigers are better equipped, especially with Cole not there. I think if Flaherty pitches well, and we all know that the Tigers can win with, as they call it, pitching chaos, where they mix and match and do all these crazy things. If Torkelson and Javi Baez swing the bat the way they are, they can keep this up for the whole year. To me, they're best equipped to make a run to the World Series.
Yep.
Now, can they beat a National League team? I don't know. We'll see. But I love the Tigers.
Mm-hmm. They can keep up with the National League team, but to me, it still holds true this year, just like it did last year. The National League is significantly better than
ridiculously
the American
better.
League. This is one of the more lopsided years I've seen since I've been alive. There's so many.
Last year was the same way.
Exactly. And
last year and this year, again, start naming the top National League teams. You're at 4 or 5 at least before you get to the Tigers.
Yes.
But last year it felt like it came to fruition. It came to okay, we see that the Padres are good. This year, it just feels like the National League is just good right out of the jump. Look what the Cubs had to do. The Cubs easily had the toughest record. the toughest schedule through this first month and a half, and look where they're at. National League teams have, from the jump, started playing. The Braves are a 500 team right now. We don't think they're going to end 500, so the National League's a gauntlet.
Yeah, that's the difference. You're going to look at the National League and say there's some teams that don't make the playoffs that looked really good. I don't know if you're going to get that in the American League. I think in the American League, you're going to be like, yeah, this lines up. These teams didn't make it. They're not good enough. You might even have a wild card team or two where you're like, they're stumbling to the finish line. It's just not as deep.
No, I agree. It's much easier to start looking at the National League teams that have a chance to make the World Series and win. Because if you go with the American League, you're like, Orioles out. Oof. Twins, do we buy them? I know they're on a 10-game winning streak. Do we buy them? Right? Mariners, do we buy them with all their pitching injuries? Right? Yankees, are the Yankees. Red Sox just got swept by the Tigers.
Yeah, how about the Red Sox getting swept just now by the best team in the American League? Yeah. So how much do you judge there? But
I mean, the Twins are up 2-0.
You got to win one.
The Orioles again.
the
Orioles.
You got to win one.
Oof.
No, I know.
You got to win one out of there. If you're the Red Sox, if you're not, prove to me on May 15th is different than proving to me on July 15th that the Red Sox are not a 500 team. And if you don't win one series against a really good squad, they put themselves up against the wall by trying to have to beat Scooble in the final game of the series. You got to take one out of these series if you're not just going to hover right around 500.
Crochet didn't pitch in this series.
Yeah, but I mean,
just throwing it out there.
3-0, by the way, Twinkies. Buxton just went deep again.
Later in the show, we're going to talk about that series. So.
The Twins and the Orioles?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
It's got its own
It's
segment.
unbelievable.
It's got its own segment. One more thing from this game. Did you guys see the exchange between Scooble and Bregman?
It was great. I love it. This is one thing that's come out of Scooble since he's been really – I mean, he's always been really good, but since he won the Cy Young, his personality has come out more and more. It's awesome. He's been running his mouth. Remember he had the thing with who was it to hit the home run off of him? And he was
Neto.
Neto, right? And then he's like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then he said something, they kind of kissed and made up. But right here, he's like, Bregman, stop swinging at the first pitch, dude. You're supposed to be on my team, too. Let's not forget.
Yeah, take a damn pitch. Because he
homered the contract that the Tigers offered.
He took a pitch down the pipe.
Then he got a hit anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Second pitch.
Knock.
Got him.
But he had already gone deep off of him.
Right. And then, did you see what he said after that? Take 2 pitches. Oh, that's what he said. Take 2 pitches. This is funny sarcasm.
I love it.
Regular
I love it.
game.
Let him talk a little bit. I mean, it wasn't bad intentions. It was just fun.
No, it was awesome. Yeah.
Great.
To me, it means you're totally comfortable in your skin and you're so good that you can also have fun. There were certain guys that I felt like really played that up. Like, Miguel Cabrera wasn't like the coziest always off the field, but on the field, he would just be like a big teddy bear sometimes, just playing around. Well,
sometimes.
True. But is there a better example?
No.
My point is,
Griffey would be kind of the one.
Right. There are guys that could just like walk around and be okay with having fun, joking, not like too chummy, but this
Beltre
kind of thing. Beltre is a great example. Yes. And I know there's a lot of players that were just trying to make sure that they were on the roster, and they would say, I can't have fun like that. I'm like, I'm just trying to survive, right? Some guys who are just like, I got to kill everyone.
That was me.
That was you. Some guys, like Kratz, were you on the other side of that where you're like, I can't, like, I feel like you could have a good time there. Maybe you were different, but like, I mean, for me, I worked with Mark DeRosa for years, and he said, my regret is I didn't have enough fun because I was always trying to like stay on the roster kind of thing. Obviously not like he was the end of the bench, but he just, he felt like he couldn't relax because he had to be so game mode. I deserve to be in the starting lineup.
I don't know if he did or not. All I can account for is my career. Yeah, no, I had to be in game mode. Like if a completely average to below average player is, doing the stuff that Scooble and Bregman were doing, maybe it's not a good look. That's the stuff that those guys, the stars, can do. Me, you go out there, you're joking. Like I'm not saying hi to the first baseman. If I know him, maybe I put my head down and I say something. But to me, it was always a bad look when somebody who was not a good player would do something like that. Post game, outside of the field, absolutely. But take him out to dinner.
Freddie Freeman.
Bless you.
Roger McDowell used to get so mad. And Roger, I love you to death. He was one of my favorite pitching coaches. But he would get so mad. A guy would get like a big hit against us in the late innings. And Freddie'd be over there like hugging him and laughing. He's like, that guy just beat us, and you're over there hugging him. Different times for sure.
First baseman, though, often can have the most fun because they get to.
Yeah, but like we had Scott Miller on yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about Tom Kelly. And I remember we faced CeCe when CeCe first came up. Okay, and the word was if you bunted on CeCe, he'd hit you. Jock Jones bunts next to bat, he freaking smokes him. After the game, they're hanging out, laughing, goofing around, or maybe the next day. And Tom Kelly's like, that guy hit you yesterday. You're over there hugging him. What are you doing? I mean, that's just how it was.
To me,
it was
he's
different.
got a point. To me, there's a difference there. Because if you're throwing at someone, there's a high risk of injury. Isn't that the separation for you?
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of guys throw at me, so if I got mad
That's
at everybody,
true.
if I got mad at everybody that threw at me, I couldn't talk to anybody.
Yours was different, though. A lot of the time, I felt like it was tit for tat, where it's like, hey, we hit you, now you're going to hit one of our guys. The CC thing is different. It's like, hey, I don't want you to do something that is common in the game because I'm not good at it.
Yeah, you're right.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, but
no, am I off on
but
that?
hitting somebody. To me, if I knew that about a pitcher, I would bunt. Hopefully, I'd get on the bunt, and then I would get on by the hit by pitch. Like, I'm 2 for 2 on base percentage. Pays. Like, that's
I would have
not
bunted every time.
hit. I don't know. Like, getting hit is. I get it. People can get hurt. It's not a big deal. It's not that big of a deal. I think it is way more blown out of proportion. Could somebody get hurt big time? Yes, hit in the face. Gee, there's plenty of people that got hit in the face, but it's not that big a deal. The ball's got a rubber center, even when guys are throwing hard now.
Okay. Yeah, as long as you know where it's going.
And by the way, Roger McDowell was the Magic Loogie guy, if you remember Seinfeld. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
I do. I saw it, but man, it's been a minute.
Where remember somebody spit on, I think it was on Kramer, and it was Keith Hernandez, Roger McDowell.
Keith Hernandez, yeah.
Back
like and to the left.
Yeah. And they were doing like, it was supposed to be like the JFK, like magic bullet kind of thing. Right. But one of them spit on like Kramer and they were trying to replay it. It's a pretty funny episode.
It's a good episode. Yeah, it is.
It's a good episode.
All right, we're ready for Max Muncy. He's going to join us next on Foul Territory. This is a straightforward show, so I'm going to be very straightforward with everyone about PXG. Fastest way to improve your performance on the golf course is to get yourself a PXG golf fitting. Go in there and let the experts help you.
I've been using PXG for a few years now, Scotty. They are perfect. I love the way they feel. They fit them perfectly to my swing. They weighted them. They put grips in them. They put shafts in them. They use their heads, and they fit my swing beautifully. They have definitely improved my game. They just recently hooked me up with their new Allen putter, which is off the chain. I was draining putts the other day, left and right. So I definitely say, go get your fitting at PXG. Nobody goes golf the way PXG does.
Yes, and for a limited time, you could save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com/foul. That's pxg.com/FOUL to save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/foul. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Hey, yesterday the Dodgers bounced back against the A's with a win. Got a nice all-around dub. Ohtani homered. Ha-Seong Kim homered for the first time, and he's off to a really strong start, 840 OPS. But I want to make sure we spend a minute on Max Muncy with a towering shot because he's going to join us in a minute. That was the put away. That was the dagger.
Good for him. He needed it's only his second one. We got to get him going.
Let's go,
Max. You need me. We're going to talk about it, but you need me, Max. You need me on your games.
Dansby treatment.
You need me on your games. Last time I did a game, he got 3 hits against a guy who hadn't got a hit off his whole life, so he needs me.
You're the secret sauce. All right.
Kratz is muted his best way.
Yeah, Kratz. You look really good. There you go.
There you go.
Okay, what I was saying was, don't take this wrong, but people who know what this means, maybe this isn't what I mean, but AJ's got knocks in him. Just saying.
Lots of knocks.
Max 3 hits. He got Dansby 3 hits.
Royce
just
Lewis
saying.
is down.
He's got knocks.
Korea.
Yeah, he does. Looks like there was a collision in Minnesota. Let's see if we can find it before.
That's Buxton. Oh, Buxton and Correa knocked noggins. It's not good.
No. Yeah, those are 2 big boys.
Anyways, what'd you say? What were you saying, Kratzy? I do have a lot of hits in me. My bats have a lot of hits left in them, too. Just saying.
You got knocks. It's a compliment to some people.
Usually wives or girlfriends.
Hey, we've got Max Muncy joining us, Dodger slugger, back on Foul Territory. Max, how's life in mid-May? in Major League Baseball with the Dodgers?
Man, it's good. We're winning. It's the most important thing. The boys are having fun, and just trying to get some guys healthy and keep rolling forward.
You need me, Max. Admit it. Admit you need me. You need me. I'll see you next week. You need me, Max. What happened? What happened against Nola? Tell the people what happened when I saw you against Nola. Tell the people.
What happened was I had a really good game that had nothing to do with you whatsoever.
What?
Thank you.
What do you mean? You were like 0 for 40 against him. You went 3 for 3. What do you mean?
Yeah, well, you come in the clubhouse all smug, acting like, it's just another guy. You'll get him today.
And you did. And you did, though. The funny is I did not know your numbers about that until after I had that conversation with you. And then I see Joe Davis and Erik Karros, and they're like, Max is like 0 for 27 off of him. And I'm like, he's got this today. So then every time he got a hit, I was just texting Muncy. And they're like, damn, maybe you should be his hitting coach every week. Like, come in, just see Max, and then go. Because, you knew you were coming on, so you knew you had to go deep last night.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Max, just tell him he's been retired too long to think he has all the answers. Because when you're in the grind, some dude just comes in and is like, hey, you got this, guy. Don't worry about it. Didn't even look at your numbers. Like him saying they didn't look at your numbers shows that he's not in the grind with you, Max.
I don't think he's crossed over into that window yet where, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, where the guys that played forget how hard it was to play. And I don't know if he's crossed into that window just yet, but he's getting close.
Listen, trust me. I know exactly how hard it is. Excuse me. It's harder to breathe right now than it is to hit, though. But I know exactly how hard it is. Trust me. I say all the time how hard it is to play baseball. And I have no regrets at all that I don't have to play anymore because guys throw way too hard, and what you guys do is way too difficult for me to do anymore. But I'll say this. Sometimes you just need somebody to tell you that you're going to have a good day. You're going to have a good day, Max. You know what? I don't even care what your numbers are because I thought you were going to go deep. You were my pick to click to go deep because I thought he'd flip you a curveball and you were going to hit it out. But you got 3 hits, so my work is done.
Yeah, you never know, especially at that ballpark. You never know. You get one up in the air, it might go. But I appreciated the support that day.
Hey, on that note, real quick, we're going to have Bret Boone on the show later, right? Bret was not coaching. He was actually podcasting.
He was hanging out because I saw a lot.
Right? Well, he's going to be on the show later. I heard him on another interview talking about how, for example, he's obviously getting caught up. He said he loves the info that's provided, but it almost sounded like he thought some guys were overthinking things. So, for example, some guys are talking, he said, in the clubhouse about a pitcher's spin rate. And he's like, you mean the dude's got a really good slider? Like, do we have to – like, they're talking numbers. So what do you observe when guys are breaking down how a pitcher looks? Like, how much is too much? And sometimes should someone just be like, yo, watch out, slider's nasty, versus he's got XYZ RPMs on this?
Yeah, we don't ever really focus too much on the spin rate. Obviously it's something that you notice if it jumps off the chart. It kind of makes you think about it. But we more focus on, what the numbers are trying to tell you. What's the vert telling you? What's the horizontal telling you? For us, that means more so, if this guy's throwing a fastball and he's got 20 vert, well, you got to be a little bit more direct to it. You got to make sure you're thinking above the ball. The ball is going to seem like it's rising. We kind of pay attention to that information just in terms of how we're going to form our approach. But sometimes it does seem like guys look at those numbers and it scares them away a little bit. That's why we don't necessarily focus on the spin rate. Oh, this guy's, throwing a slider with 3,000 RPM. It doesn't matter. How much is it moving? What's it going to feel like in the box? And that's more what we try to talk to each other about. How does it feel? Does the cutter feel like a slider? Does the slider feel like a curveball? What window is it? What lane is it coming out of? How is it tunneling? We try to formulate our approaches based on that. And, last night, you go to it for an example, we had a little bit of trouble with the starter last night. I know we had a couple home runs, but we had a little bit of trouble because you look at the reports and he's a fastball cutter guy. And so For the lefties, it's a pretty simple approach. You want to push it out over, and you want to get them up. You don't want it to bore in on you. Well, last night he went majority changeup against us, and that's it's a tough pitch to handle when the whole lane you're looking for is up and out over.
So that was my question. Is that what you do as is this a team-wide approach? Is this an individual approach? Do the hitting coaches come to you guys and say, this is your attack against this pitcher, or is it a team-wide thing where they say, because not every hitter is a difference. You, Freddie, Shohei, obviously Mookie hits right-handed, but you guys are all different and have different approaches and different things you want to look for. So is this a team-wide approach, or is this individualized for each one of you guys?
It's a little bit of both. One thing we've always done really well in our hitters meetings is, the hitting coaches, they give the report on the guy. They give little tidbits here and there, what they think works. And then they pretty much force every guy to say what their approach is going to be that day. And, that way you don't just go into the meeting, blank-minded. You have to have done your homework. You have to know what you're looking for. And if you say something, other guys might chime in and be like, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. It's that way everyone's kind of, on the same page with it. So it's a little bit of the team wide, and it's a little bit of, depending on who you are. Like you said, Freddie, like he's got the same approach every single day, but he might look in different areas, but he's still trying to do the same thing every single day. Certain guys like the ball closer to them, certain guys like the ball farther away. And you're going to take that into account. Where do you do damage versus where does this guy throw it? And, that's just kind of a, spot of where you're looking.
Okay. So the last one on this from me. How long you faced Hoagland yesterday, and you said he was mostly fastball cutter. Well, then he starts throwing changeups. How long does it take you guys to adjust? One time through? Shohei took him deep leadoff, so apparently he's like, I'm not doing that game plan anymore. I'm going to have to throw something else. But how long does it take you as a team to adjust? Do you have to get at bats? Or do you guys not huddle, but talk to each other on the bench and say, hey, man, he's not really throwing cutters. He's throwing changeups.
Well, that is funny because Shohei hit the homer on a cutter, and I don't know that he threw another one the rest of the day to lefties.
You blame Shohei. He scared him away from it. Shohei, you should know. You should go up to Shohei and say, Shohei, I hit a homer, but you cost me my other 3 at-bats because you made him not throw any more cutters, and I was looking for cutters.
No, the guy last night is an outlier just because he's got, so few starts in the big leagues. Usually you can kind of tell, you hit a ball hard, this guy's going to run from that pitch, or this guy's clearly trying to change what he does. It's hard to tell when you don't have enough information on a guy to know exactly what he's doing. Maybe he threw to a different catcher his first start versus who he's thrown to last night. You never know that kind of stuff. And, with him being a young rookie, there's not enough information. And that's why sometimes guys that are making their debuts or they've only got a little bit of time, they're tough because you don't know exactly which way they're going to run when stuff starts getting tough out there.
Do you feel like this is why teams that have continuity in their lineup, and I think you guys have kind of had more continuity in the last 3 years instead of like platoon, but that continuity where it's like, how each guy is going to talk about a certain type of pitch and then how to implement it into your approach.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can call it a language barrier, but you're talking baseball, but I've seen it before where guys have come over into the organization and we start talking about how a pitch moves, and you say a certain couple of words, and the guy kind of looks at you with a blank face, like I've never heard that before, and it's a term that you use every single day. So it's just when you have the same group of guys for a while and you understand what everyone's thinking, and also you can understand how it feels to certain players. If Freddie tells me a certain pitch feels a certain way, I know exactly what he means because I know how he's tying that into his account and, with his swing and his approach. And so I can understand exactly what he means when he tells me, the fastball feels this way or the slider feels this way. And, and even when Show tells me things, I can understand what he's trying to say now just because I've been around him enough.
Dude, that is freaking awesome information. I love that people are hearing this because this is like the next level. This is what makes good teams great. Is there anybody that on the team now or that you play with before that just gave awful information but was still just an elite hitter? You know what I mean? Where the dude's like, you know what I do? I just look in, and then they throw like Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence would go up, and he'd go, yeah, I'm looking slider, and the dude threw 99 letter high, and he just tomahawked it, and he's like, it just looked like a good pitch.
Well, I'm going to throw Albert out there. Albert didn't give bad information. He gave great information, but Albert was funny because anytime you'd face a guy, he would kind of sit there in the meeting and be like, yeah, this guy reminds me of Maddox. And, it's like, Albert, no one here has played against Maddox. No one knows what that feels like. Anybody, this guy reminds me of Glavine. And it's like, no one knows, exactly what you're like. We all know who those guys are, but we don't know what their pitch mix felt like. And so, he would just say things like that. And you're kind of like, Albert, you've played way too long, man.
Hey, take it easy. Some of us face Maddox and Glavine. All right. So take it easy there, Max. Some of us face those guys. Check the statics, okay? Check my Maddox statics. All right, I want to know, because this reminds me of Kratz and I have kids in high school, right? And they'll come back after every at-bat, and they'll be like, this dude's flat, we're going to rake him. This dude's flat. Every guy is like the same, right? Oh, this guy's got nothing, he's flat, we're going to kill him. It's intriguing to me that you guys are actually having different conversations about this. I love it. So, like, Ohtani, is he like, man, when I faced Sagano back in Tokyo, man, he reminds me of. Or Kim says some guy in Korea. Are you guys like, man, we never faced that dude? Is it the same thing?
No, they don't say that. For us, we're really good about, like I was just talking about, we don't really care much about spin rate. But, like I said, you have to take that into account that if a guy does have a high spin rate, the ball is going to feel a certain way. And, again, that just goes back to after the first at bat through, guys talk to each other and, hey, what'd you see out of the slider? What'd you see out of the fastball? What'd you see out of the sinker or the changeup? How did it feel? And it's, okay, these pitches came out of this lane. You could recognize them, whereas this pitch came out of a different lane. You saw it instantly. It just feels slow, or, hey, it feels hard with a good down action. There's a lot of language that we use to talk to each other. And it's one of those things where I feel like if you put a mic on us, regular people would hear it and be like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
So true. I have a two-part question on Pete Rose. First of all, 4,256 hits. Does that number even compute in the sense of like an active big leaguer thinking about somebody getting 4,256 hits?
No, that number just sounds astronomical to me because we can bring Freddie back up. Freddie's chasing 3,000 and he's still a couple hundred away from it. And I feel like Freddie gets 1,000 hits every single year. And, when you talk about he's trying to get 3,000, you talk about a guy that had, 1,200 more than that. It's just an insane number to really think about.
All right, so the last one for Pete. He cheated. He gambled on baseball. Do you feel like that's something that is irreprehensible, unforgivable in the game because of what it does to the integrity of the game?
That's a tricky question. The simple answer is yes, but you dive in. You have to dive into it a little bit more. He was banned for life, obviously, and because of the way the rules are stated, that was the fitting, punishment for it. Should he have been banned from the Hall of Fame? That I don't know. I mean, like you said, you talk about a guy who has a number of hits that most people can't even, fathom. I've been thinking about it a lot the last couple of days, ever since the news came out that, he got lifted from the permanently ineligible list. It's a really tricky question. I don't know that I have a good answer for it. But the rules are the rules. You break the rules. It's pretty simple.
Okay. All right. Well, give me a yes or no. Would you vote for him? I'm a no. I'm thumbs down. So you go. Yes or no?
Would I vote for him? Yeah, I'd probably vote for him.
Sucker.
You just asked for yes or no.
I'm just kidding. Everyone has their opinion.
Yeah, that's why this come on now.
No, dude, seriously. Like, I respect everyone's opinion. Everyone has opinions on this, and it's why it's one of the most polarizing things in all of baseball right now is because of just some people say yes, some people say no. And listen, I understand exactly why Max and people say yes, and I have my opinions on why they say no. So no, it was all in good fun. But I want to go to something a little more positive for you and for me. We haven't had you on since the Wrigley Field thing happened on the bus. Okay, I just want to give you props for this. I don't know how the hell you didn't get back off that bus and just go grab the guy or yell at the guy that was heckling you when you got on the bus, because you have way more self-control than me. Because I would have at least stepped back and said something and then ran up on the bus. You just kind of stopped and looked. Your look said it all and went away. So to you, Max, nothing but respect, buddy.
Yeah, I think everyone that's in this situation obviously wants to say something. For me, my biggest thing was the language that the guy was using. The amount of kids that are out there, I just wanted to talk to the guy and be like, hey, hate me all you want, say whatever you want to say, but like, let's keep it a little bit clean here, man. Like, there's all these kids that are trying to look up to these players, and they're hearing this kind of language being used, and it was, it sucks, obviously, but it's, say what you want to say, but let's keep it a little bit clean, and like that was my biggest thing. Is I'm looking at all these kids having this look on their face of like, oh my gosh, they almost looked a little scared and terrified, and that was the biggest thing for me. Is we're as players and athletes, we're trying to set models and examples for kids, and it's they shouldn't have to be subjective to that, even though we are, and it's just a sad reality of human nature out there.
Yeah, well said.
Agreed.
I agree.
Good on you, though. Seriously, like.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean that sincerely. Like, good on you for being the bigger man in this situation and not firing back, because I know it takes a lot.
There are a lot of dumb fans out there. Yeah. Mostly smart, but some bad eggs. Max, thank you. Appreciate it, man. Good catching up. Great baseball talk.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, stay hot till next Saturday, okay? Just stay hot till next Saturday. That way I don't have to coach you up again. Then I don't have to coach you up again,
trust me.
Exactly.
I don't need to hear any more AJ hitting tips. So yeah.
I would like to see when AJ steps up in a week what he's saying to you. I can only imagine.
Yeah,
he's hot. We'll have to report back on that one.
If he's hot, it's Mets Dodgers. Dodgers at the Mets. If he's hot, listen.
He's gonna be like, hey, that Senga guy.
Yeah. Don't swing at the fork ball, Max. Don't swing at the ghost fork.
Yeah, it's easier said than done,
Well, I'm aware. Trust me, I'm aware.
All right, Max. We'll catch you.
Thanks,
soon,
Max.
Well, I'll have to have you come out whenever I face Luis Castillo. Then you can give me some real hitting tips.
Okay. You're worse than you were against Nola?
I'll let you look those up yourself. I don't want to say them.
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right. We've got a break. We'll look it up now. Thanks, Max. Talk soon, man.
All right, guys. See ya.
See ya. Hey, Dodgers territory also bringing on Dodgers players, Dodgers coaches, anyone involved with the Dodgers, obviously. Alana and Clint do an awesome job getting VIP guests. Make sure you check out the show 3 times per week on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be right back. We'll talk Twins Orioles. Hey, for the card collectors out there, you need to know about Arena Club. You can check out our showrooms. We've all got cards in there. You can buy, you can sell, you can trade, and you can rip packs. They're called slab packs, Kratz. And then what happens if you don't like what you pulled?
You get an instant offer. But before you get that instant offer, you can show your showroom around, kind of like when I used to put the cards in the sleeves and my buddies would come over and show them. Now, bang, show them on the phone. Instant offers right there if I need it.
Yep, that instant offer is for the estimated fair market value. Accept it on the spot. Acquire the best value for your money with slab packs, transparent checklists, and Arena Club's Slab Safe program. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, grading, or ripping packs, Arena Club is the safest, most trusted in the game. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul, code FOUL. Hey, good news. Bret Boone is a couple minutes away from joining us, Rangers
Oh, I
hitting
can't
coach.
wait.
I'm very excited about that on many fronts. Super cool story. Bret's really fun to talk to. We'll mix in some news here so we can keep filling up obviously what we do every day.
I want to say this. That was one of the best interviews we've ever had on here. As far as inside the clubhouse, dugout, and what goes into getting ready for a game. Like, that was a baseball, fun baseball interview about him and other hitters talking and what people talk about in real life situations. She's right. If you went into that clubhouse and just said, here's the thing, and if someone that didn't know what you were talking about, they'd be like, what the hell are these guys talking about? But everyone that knows it's in that area knows like exactly what they're saying. And that was awesome of Max to kind of let us in a little bit.
Agreed. That's what really happens in a hitters meeting. That was really good. They're like, you have to have some homework. And then they talk about it. That's cool.
And you talk to teams. Oh man, I hated our hitting coaches meetings. The hitting coaches shouldn't be the one giving the meetings. It should be the players bouncing stuff off each other. And some guys are like, yeah, it didn't start working out until we started using, helping each other. I was like, duh, we're the ones in the box. Like, that's who needs to help. He's just telling you, hey, throw 65% sliders. Okay, good information. What does it look like? Does he throw two different sliders? All that stuff goes into it to get a hit in the big leagues.
Right. You're trying to get players, of course, to communicate. All right, still getting set up for Bret Boone. So as soon as he's ready, we'll hit a break and then we'll get him in. So let's talk about the Twins and the Orioles. They're finishing up their series right now. Shocker, Twins are winning again. They've won 10 games in a row. 10 games in a row.
It could be 11 probably here.
This could be 11. And last year they actually did have a big winning streak like this too, double digits when they were 7-13 to start the year and went on a big run. Then they obviously fell apart down the stretch. But more surprising to see the Twins get this hot after starting out so slow, or are we going to be talking about the Orioles selling parts at the trade deadline?
We could be. If they keep going the way they're going.
I mean, it's getting late early in Baltimore, and you mentioned this yesterday when we got off the show and we were taking a peek at the game because it was going on. It's a day game midweek, but if you win, they will show up. If you don't, then let me take you a few years back to when the team tanked.
I used to dread going to Baltimore because there was not a lot of people there.
No.
It was 7,000 degrees in Baltimore. You always get at least one day game there. And there was nobody there. And it was a rain delay every single time. You're like, gosh, I'm going to get rain delayed in Baltimore. But yeah, I mean, listen, they're 15-26. They lose right now. They're 15-27. We're not talking like, okay, the Braves started out 0-7. They played the Dodgers, Padres, 0-7. Fine. They got 155 games. We're past the quarter point now. It's starting. It's, as Yogi Berra said, it's getting late early, big fella.
What was the Astros record last year that was bad? Wasn't it 16-26, or was it? Does that sound right? I'll find it.
Yeah, but they weren't in the AL East.
That was the point I wanted to make.
And they had pitching.
Yeah.
And they had starting pitching. They didn't just have Sugano. Sugano's was thrown today. I don't know if he's still in the game or not, but that was their chance. That was their guy.
Yeah. This is bad. This is bad. If you're an Orioles fan, I'm sorry. This is bad. This is what we said going into the year, though, right?
It's bad in places that we didn't think it was going to be bad. It's bad. Like, yes, the starting pitching is bad. They didn't end up getting the guys that we thought they should have gotten or they were trying to go get. They missed out on different things. I get that, but we thought the starting pitching wasn't going to be great, and then Grayson goes down. But where are some of the guys in this lineup? We just talked about Max and like hitting together as a team, figuring this stuff out. Is it something that this lineup has not like learned to hit with each other, but they did hit? I mean, Gunnar was an MVP candidate last year, and there's just what is it? I know people are going to say their expected numbers are just through the roof. They should be doing so much better, but they're not.
A lot of fly balls 250 to 300 feet. I don't know.
The problem is not, I mean, the offense, I mean, I'm going to ask this, and I've said this, we've been saying this for a while. What's wrong with Adley Rutschman? It's been almost a year now. I mean, we're not talking like a couple weeks or we're going to the second half of around June 1st last year, and we're almost to June 1st again. If you look at his numbers, I don't know what happened. Adley, I love you. I really want you to be better because you are so fun to watch when you're right. But what happened there? Like Gunners, if you look at their lineup, there's one guy that's doing really well. It's Gunnar Henderson. The rest of that lineup is not in a good place right now.
You're right.
Read the OPSs and read all that. I mean, it's not a good lineup right now. I'm sorry. It's just not.
On the year, I would say probably the other one that stands out, and I'm looking at the numbers so I don't sound stupid. Yep, I'm right. Cedric Mullins is also looking pretty good.
Well, and O'Hearn's having a nice year.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's not enough.
No. I mean, Kerstad, 626 OPS. You know, Rutschman, 623. Holiday, 701. Okay. Mountcastle, 615. Mullins is 781, and that, you know, and O'Hearn, 893. He's having a really nice year.
Yeah, O'Hearn.
But their whole thing, right, was supposed to be they could out-slug you.
Last year, they had a top 5 offense. I watched Fair Territory. Ken Rosenthal talked about this. This year, I think they rank 25th right now in runs per game. So it's all falling apart right now. And does it matter, Kratz, that they're often down in this exact scenario? This is what happens in so many games already this year. You're down 3-0 mid-game. Obviously, yes, they should be scoring too, but I do feel like they're playing behind so frequently due to the starting pitching deficiency.
Yes, but you to me, when you're on a team like that, it's July that shows up. You're not like exhausted from the same thing happening over and over again the first 40 games of the year. Like if you're in July and you're like, oh, we got a lead. We got a 1-run lead in the 7th, and then your bullpen has just habitually blown it all season. And then you're a run down. They give up a 2-run homer and you're a run down. That's when you're like, deflating. This team is built on the offense. These are young dudes that are playing every single day, and they need to step up and make their expected batting averages and balls in play and all these expected stats turn into W's, or else it is way too late.
They also didn't develop on the pitching side like many thought they would. Chase McDermott was supposed to be a mid-rotation guy. I think he's been hurt. I think he's still hurt. Cade Povich hasn't worked out yet. So some of the guys, and he's 25, some of the guys that they expected on the pitching side just haven't developed. Of course, the headliner there is our boy Grayson Rodriguez. Yeah. Money when he's there, he just hasn't been able to figure out how to stay on the field. So when you add those guys up, the development side's a problem. They're making mistakes on who they're selecting in free agency with the starting rotation. And that becomes a mess. You have a slow start on offense. Now you have a disaster. Yep. That's where we're at right now. And yes,
what do they do, though? What's the answer? This year, nothing, right?
What can they do? You're not trading for a starter right now. Nobody makes trades in May anymore. I think unless they go on a heater, Kratz, they might be 8 games under 500, sell City in late June, early July.
Do you believe this team can go on a heater?
Not the way their pitching's lined up right now.
Not with the pitching, no. Because you can get stopped. You can get stopped in 5 seconds with a bad outing, no matter how hot you are. You can lose 10-8. So no, I don't see them doing 10 plus in a row right now. Maybe in like August or September if everybody's back. But man, I mean, you might be in a significant hole by then. We got to step aside. Texas Rangers talk. Let's talk about that offense. Bret Boone, hitting coach, new on the job, joining us next. All right, we're back. FT fam. Let's get ready for Bret Boone right now. So let's talk Rangers for a moment here. Yesterday, pick up a dub against the Rockies. This is a very unique story.
Does that count?
You can ask Bret. Hey, it doesn't hurt when
I know
you're a week on the job and you get to face maybe the worst team of all time.
They're well on pace.
Mm-hmm. But you still got to beat those teams.
True.
They're still going to win, 45 games this year?
You think they get to 45?
I don't know.
They're 7-36 right now. Think they get to 40?
They're just focused on double digits right now. Let's get to 10.
Scott, if they get to 45, you better start throwing down some nice plus 250s for the Rockies because they are about to pay you cash if you think they're going to get to 45 wins. Because that's a lot of wins from here on out.
What's 45?
That means they got to win 38 more.
They
got to win 38 more out of like 119. They got to win like a third of their games.
If they lose 125, what's 62 minus 25?
37.
So 37 is more of the line. Right
I would say 40. Did they get to 40?
That's a good number.
And the White Sox won 41 last year. 41.
This is tough.
41 games.
I wasn't ready for this kind of test.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready
It's
for
not
this
it's not a test. Just do they get to 40 games? Do they win 40 games this year?
Kratz, you go.
You're essentially saying, you look like you were either farting or thinking, and you're essentially saying they're going to lose one game out of every 4. They're going to lose one game out of every 4. It might be profitable to start just betting the money line on the Rockies. Just think about the numbers.
I'll go 40.
They're going to win 40? So they're going to set the all-time loss record.
By one.
Wow.
If they do, we'll be following it.
Oh, dude, we were all over it last year with the White Sox. We're definitely going to be on the Rockies.
We were. All right, let's talk about good ball. Rangers ball next. Here we go. Bret Boone is the Rangers hitting coach. He's obviously had a great podcast for years, obviously an amazing career in the bigs. And now you blink, Bret, and here you are doing interviews as the Rangers hitting coach. Great to have you on, dude. How's life the first week and a half or so on the job?
Hey, guys. Good to see you. A whirlwind, but I'm getting a little acclimated now. Got my housing set up, all the important stuff. Got my car washed today. So we're easing in. No, it's been great. It was, crazy story, and the fact that I'm sitting here. I even woke up. I'm getting on the plane last Monday. I woke up and I thought, what am I doing? And then I got on the plane, got to Fenway, and it all made sense. So far so good. Boys are swinging a little bit. We got a tough series starting tonight with Houston, but so far so good. It's cool to be back. It is.
What do we call you? Because Bret, do we call you Boone? We can't call you Booney because that's your brother, Aaron.
You can call me whatever you want, AJ. AJ, you're good. You're good like that. You can call me whatever you want.
Okay, so I got to tell this story, and my wife and Bret and I, we go 20 years. We go back, right?
Yeah.
And so Bret used to have a shirt that said "I know Boone," and I got one. I wish I still had that shirt. It was like 3 sizes ago, but I wish I still had that shirt because it was made from like cotton, like the old cotton T-shirts that were like, they stuck to you. But I wore it all the time. It said, "I know Boone." So I don't know. That's why I asked the question.
Well, maybe they'll come back if the Rangers keep hitting like this.
A lot of those shirts out there, Rage.
Yep.
What are the hitters call you? Is that a tough acclimation process?
It is. Well, I think it's just kind of through the years, starting with my grandpa, he was Booney, then my dad was Booney, then I was Booney, then Aaron was Booney. Then, like AJ said, they'd call me the Boone, and that was Mark McLemore, a teammate of mine, gave me that name. Because Mac played with my dad, and he said, you can't be Booney because I played with Bob Boone, and that's the real Booney. So you're the Boone. So no, guys call me Bret and most of the players just Boone when I'm walking by, which for the most part, that's kind of been all of us wherever we go. Boone, you just kind of turn your head. Which one are they talking to? So anything, long as these guys hit, I told them you can call me whatever you want.
Who? Do they know who you were? Did any of these guys? Did you
AJ,
walk in and have to introduce yourself?
We're getting to that point where it's like, don't you know who I used to be? So
yeah,
some of them do, some of them are aware. You got some older players, Marcus Semien, he remembers. But some of these young guys, Wyatt Langford, I look at Wyatt, I said, last time I was in a uni, you were probably 3. So yeah, it's these days, AJ, they Google you. If they got any problems, they just Google you. So
yes. By the way, have they seen your commercial? Have they seen? We've had this conversation? Have we seen your commercial? Your one commercial that you have more than one, but the bat flip, rake flip, where you're walking around flipping. Here it is. We found it.
Wow.
We literally had to go to the dark web to find this thing.
Yes.
There it is. Golf club.
You know what? At the right time, these guys will enjoy that.
Oh, that's so good.
Watch it. Like spoon flip. I mean, toothbrush
flip. That's an amazing commercial.
Oh, it's the all time. And the outfits were even better. By the way, the outfits you're rocking in that commercial make that commercial.
That's early 2000 vintage. That's what we did back then. Very cool.
That's incredible. All right.
You had to play against him in Safeco to really appreciate that commercial because nobody could hit a ball to right center. And Boone would hit one, and he just – first of all, he'd talk trash when he's in the box, and he'd hit it, and he'd just go, ha, Safeco. Flip it and go like 10 rows right. You're like, what? Nobody can even do that. How the hell are you doing this?
Yeah. I'll tell you, though, now the kid, they'll get me in the cage here messing around when we got a little lull in the action. Age, I just don't have that spring anymore. It's just not there.
Well, Langford does. He went oppo yesterday. So tell me about, let's get into biz for a few minutes here. Tell me about what happens once you get here. Like, are you meeting one-on-one with players? Like, how can I be helpful? Is there anything that you felt we should do differently that I can bring to the table? Like, how do you solve the equation to help a team that clearly wanted to make a change on offense?
Well, it's when I got the call from Boch and myself, I only played for him 1 year, but we have a long-standing relationship. And I knew the reason him and CY reached out and wanted to make a change. We discussed it briefly. But I'm embracing currently what hitters and how they train and the metrics, and I'm simplifying it as much as I can. I came in, I was a little bit quiet at the beginning. I really got to figure out these guys individually. We're all so different. I might say one thing that resonates with one player, and that's going to be, it's not going to resonate with another. So I'm more figuring out personalities, what makes them tick. But when you get down to it, it's great hitting is great hitting, and that starts with a great approach. I said, the one thing I want you guys to do is I want you to start watching the game. These iPads, they're great. Don't get me wrong. I'm envious of the technologies these guys have at their fingertips. I wanted all the information you could give me, but there's a time and a place for it. So do your iPad work, find out where that pitch was. Now there's a reliever coming in. I want you on this top step, and I want you to watch this guy. I want you to talk to your players. Righties talk to righties. Lefties talk to lefties. What'd they do last time to you? What's going on in the game? What's the scoreboard say? Who's hitting behind you? Does he have success off this guy? Or does he not have success? That's going to give you a little intel. Are they going to come at me? Or are they going to pitch around me with a base open? These are little things that I learned second half of my career that were really beneficial. The basics are keep your brain through the middle of the field. You can never go wrong with that. And then your skill set individually is going to take over for where your strengths are. So yeah, I'm still kind of feeling them out a little bit, but it's been 9 days now. I'm getting to know the guys a little better. They're comfortable with me now. I've got Seth and Justin with me, also the hitting guys for Texas. They've been great. And I just said, we're background players. Here we are. It's all about the players. And if we individually can get that good thought into their mind when they get to the batter's box, that's what it's all about. I said something the other day. I said, if that peanut lady in the 18th row can help you get a hit, let's get her down here in the dugout right now. That's what it's all about, getting hits, moving that merry-go-round, moving runners. The big thing is I've talked about every at-bat's not the same. I go up in the first inning and not a situation, I'm going to find out what's the tone going to be here. And I set the tone. I think first at bats are really important. Creating the narrative for what's going to happen in your second at bat and your third. I think the first game of a series sets the tone. What do you do individually? It kind of makes, AJ will tell you this as a catcher. Sometimes I got to hit off the catcher. Is he thinking with me? Is he not thinking with me? These are all little nuances that I think get lost sometimes when we just want to talk about exit velocity and spin rate. It's like, let's talk about really what good hitters do and what they think about. So slowly trying to get that into these guys. And I also have to remember, 2 years ago, these guys won a World Series. And it's pretty much it's a very similar roster. So these guys know how to do it. I want to let them know, hey, I know you guys are really good. I watched you hoist that trophy 2 years ago, and I've got a lot of respect for that. It's just, let's find that magic again, because what I see up and down this lineup, and Corey's on the IL right now, but these guys can really hit. And then you put Corey Seager in the middle, you got something. It should be a top offense. I think in 23, it was the best offense in baseball. And that just doesn't go from best to worst. So I think the next 4 or 5 months, I'm really optimistic about it. The skill is there. The ability's there. We just got to do what we got to do behind the scenes to get it out of these guys. But I'm impressed. I'm happy. The one thing that really maybe surprised me more than anything else is how much emotionally invested I've gotten with these guys already. I feel like I have 12 or 13 kids now. Watching my son play in the minor leagues, it's you're living and dying with every at bat with him, yet trying to not let anybody see you sweat. And I'm starting to feel that with these guys. It's, you do all the work pregame and all the grunt work, and then all of a sudden you can't get in the box with them, but you're living and dying with every at bat. And when they do something really good, a situation, they move a runner, they hit a sac fly inside, I'm trying to be cool, AJ. I'm trying to be poised, but inside I'm just going, yes.
Be yourself.
And when
Be
they
yourself,
fail, I feel it with them too.
What did Boch and CY say exactly that they wanted you to change?
Oh, they didn't say anything. Bochy just said, Booney, I want you to be Booney. And he knows how I think and my philosophy on hitting. And that the game changed a little bit, but I think that battle between pitcher and hitter, I don't care how long this game goes. It's still going to be a cat and a mouse. It's still going to be a catcher back there seeing what you're doing, watching your feet, watching your body language. So Boch pretty much knows what my philosophy is, and he's kind of giving me carte blanche. There are no rules in here. It's come in and do what you do, and just kind of rub off on these guys. And it's been a lot of fun. These guys are, I've been away for a while. But and it's teaching me, you never know where you're going in life. I was on the beach with my dog. I get a phone call. I'm at Fenway Park, where I think my last big league game I played there. And at that time, it was just, I'm supposed to be here for a reason. So I'm not really questioning anything. I'm just going out and doing my job. I'll tell you, it's a lot of work. I'm in that cage, especially on the road. It seems like I'm in that cage for hours at a time. And some of the guys that they're scuffling a little bit, they'll be in the cage and they'll come back. Then they'll come back again. A little bit of a psycho behavior, but I can relate because I got like that too.
All right, I want to know. I saw you at the beginning of the year. You were in San Diego. You're in street clothes, looking all dapper, the way you do it. Talking to your son-in-law, Nick, who plays for the Braves, talking to him about hitting and talking about this. Right. Does this give you more street cred with him now that you're a big league hitting coach? Will he actually listen to you about hitting now?
Oh, Nick? Street
Yeah.
cred with Nick?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it kind of prepared me for this, because talking to these young players, talking to my son who just retired, now he's working in New York in the commissioner's office, but being around these young players, I found that as much as the game has changed, it stays the same. It's just the verbiage is different. Nick will call me, and Bret, this is what I'm doing. And then I'm going to hear a couple numbers. I'm going to hear spin rates. And I'm going to say, you know what that is? That spin rate you just mentioned, that's a great slider in my generation. And he'll mention another spin rate, and I'll say, that's a mediocre slider. We need to knock the crap out of it. Same with exit velocities. You know what that exit velocity is? 106. That's a bullet in our generation. So I think as much as the verbiage has changed, it's still the same thing. They say it a little bit differently. But I had a little idea and on a serious note, having Nick there and having long conversations with him. And I listen. I think here's what I think in the message out there that I try to bring. You see older players sometimes and they get a little, oh, it was better when we played. We don't like this current game. I think that's a naive approach to hitting. I think as much experience as we have as ex-players who are in this game, I've been in this game my whole life, starting with my dad and then my career and watching my kids grow up. I've got a lot of experience, but I need to be able to relate to the current player, and I can still learn from them. So I think that's what we need to do instead of saying our way, we did it this way. No, tell me some thoughts you have, and I've been impressed sometimes. I'll say, I wish I thought like that when I was playing. That's a good thing, but listen to the older generation as well. And if you can meet somewhere in the middle, I think that's where that's where you make the magic. And it's just an ongoing thing, generation after generation after generation. We can all learn from one another.
By the way, one of my prouder moments, I just looked up your career WAR. I have one more WAR than you, so suck it, Boone. And
you know what I think of WAR, AJ?
Make it even worse. I was one pick ahead of your brother in the draft, so apparently I'm just one better than the Boone family.
I can't believe you're dropping WAR. We didn't even know what WAR was.
I know. I trust me. I fight this all the time.
The thing is, and you know this, if I
war.
knew what WAR was, I would have doubled your WAR.
Well, you did it. You know what? You're one behind me, just like your brother. Okay, so I'm one.
You're quoting metrics that we didn't get paid on.
That's true.
We got paid on average homers, RBIs. That's what we concentrate on.
You're right. All right. So sorry. All right. Two more things. One, I'm going to ask you this because I know you know him, or I know you knew him. Pete Rose, in or out? That's it. I just want to know in or out.
AJ, you're putting me in a tough spot. And I saw a segment. When I was editing my Bret Boone podcast, I checked out a little foul territory. I saw you talking about it. I said, I hope he doesn't ask me about this. Pete played with my father in Philadelphia, won a World Series with him. I've spent many a night sleeping over at Pete Rose's house. And growing up, I had a lot of favorites. It was who was going to spend time with me today. Was it going to be Mike Schmidt, Carlton? When my dad went to the Angels, am I going to hang out with Reggie today? I had an unbelievable childhood, very blessed. And I never had a favorite player. They'd ask me, who's my favorite player? I don't have one. I love them all. I just like hanging around all of them. But when push comes to shove and you ask me who is your favorite player to watch, Pete Rose is number one for me. Way he played the game, 4 hits wasn't enough. I need to get 5. Love the man. May he rest in peace. He broke a pretty coveted rule, and a rule that, it really puts me in a bad spot because I want to say absolutely, but I can't say that because that's the one rule that was kind of top of the mountain. So, are you going to press me on it, or can I just?
Fine.
Can I go?
That's fine.
Can I go with? I'm glad I'm not in a position to vote.
No, we're good. All right. So before we let you go, because we got to let you go, I know you got to go to work, but I got to ask if this is a true story. Paul Konerko played with you in Cincinnati for like a week.
It's true. I can say it already. It's true. Paulie ain't gonna lie to you. Go ahead.
Okay. So there was a pop-up that goes up behind first base. Paulie's running back. He's like, I got it. You call him off, you catch it, and you look at him and go, hey, Rook, I win gold gloves on my fielding percentage, so I get every pop-up.
Every pop. Well, plus I don't trust the first baseman. I was trying to add to my WAR, AJ.
Exactly right. And your range factor. Range
factor, WAR, that's where it's at, baby. Look at Dante Bichette's WAR. That's what I think of WAR. That dude, he was a beast for 3 or 4 years, and he's got like a 5 WAR. That's where you lose me on WAR.
No, you lose me on WAR when you show things like certain guys are better than us. Lou Whitaker has 75 WAR. He's not in the Hall of Fame. What are we doing if that's what the end-all be-all is?
Well, I think with the Hall of Fame, and it comes to Hall of Fame, I think you have to go generation by generation. So for us, what was important for us, that's what you judge us on. Did we dominate our position? Now, the current guys, I think you're going to have to weigh OPS, WAR, because that's what they train for. So I think you can't just blanket. Until this modern era, it was kind of a blanket thing. But then you go back way back in the day, it was a dead ball era. So you didn't really judge guys on home runs because the balls were wound differently or something. So I think you got to take it each individual generation and who are the best of the best at the time, not necessarily the metrics.
He's right. 5.6 career baseball.
I mean, Dante Bichette could bang, by the way. He could absolutely bang.
5 point. You saw that, Bronny? 5.6. Come on.
This
guy was a difference maker. MVP candidate.
You're right.
I know he's playing in Colorado, but still pretty good numbers.
I agree. That's a shame. That's not a good judgment of a player like that. Well, Booney, have fun. We're rooting for you. We're excited for this. So off to a good start, and we'll catch you down the line, all right?
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Booney. Good luck, buddy.
Booney. Bret Boone, hitting coach. Obviously, like you mentioned, he's got his pod too. Make sure you check that out. Just look up his name.
Does he still do the pod?
I think he's still doing it. Yeah, he just said he was thinking about it, cutting up the pod.
Busy.
I've been on the pod.
Yes, you have.
It was like a 2-hour pod too, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that's more of the setup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about the HOF app. Let's get you a parlay today. You got something cooked up for us? Parlay Kratz?
Yeah, I mean, we can only talk about the late game. So we got Houston. Houston versus the Rangers. No, Houston versus
it's the long
Rangers. It was. I was thinking of the pitching matchup. It was Hunter Brown versus Jacob deGrom. You just plug in what you're looking for. If both of them have 7+ strikeouts, so 7 or more, comes out at plus 256. HOF, little Hall of Fame, gives me a nice opportunity to be able to build stuff, the percentages of when it's happened, how often it's happened, and the implied odds for myself. It's all right there for you. It's pretty sick little tool to use.
Yeah, exactly. So download it, check it out. For the FT fam, you're going to get yourself a 7-day free trial if you use the code FOUL. Also, you get yourself 50% off the first month. Make smarter choices on your parlays, okay? Like Kratz is doing when he's locking in his daily picks on BetMGM. But they can really help you cook up much better parlays than, if you're just going off the eye test. Sometimes that works, but I would have some analytics involved if you can, okay? So 7-day free trial, 50% off first month. Download the HOF app. Use code FOUL at checkout. All right, we're back for a minute.
By the way, I just asked the question, does Bret Boone still do his podcast? And we think he does.
Yeah, he did.
By the way, I told you I did his podcast, I don't know, a while ago. It was like a 2-hour interview. It was a full-on thing. I remember I left my house and I walked up here and I was like, I told my wife, I said, I'm doing Bret. She knows Booney. I'm like,
what do you think it would be? 30?
I thought it'd be like 15 to 20 minutes. Like an hour and 40 later, I come back. She's like, where did you go? And I was like, I told you. And she's like, Boone does talk a lot.
Yeah.
But no, listen, dude, he's one of a lot of people didn't like him. I loved him. We got along awesome. We played a lot of golf together and been on Nike trip before a bunch of times together. Had some good times. But if you want to talk baseball, the 2 interviews we've had today, honestly, are hitting gold. From him, what he said about like the scoreboard and every at-bat's different, build at-bats, do a series, do a game, all that stuff is what you need.
He's also just a straight shooter from what I've experienced working with him, and some people can't handle the truth. In the weeds, let's do quarter mark grades, okay? CBS Sports put out grades, and I think the best way to tackle this is to show you league by league. So we'll start with the National League, the grades, digest, let me know where you think they went very wrong, or you can agree with them on some things too. Let's start with the National League. Kratz, slice and dice. And I'll say this for the podcast crowd who's listening. Cubs, Dodgers, Padres, Mets get A's. There's B pluses for the Phillies, Giants, and Cardinals. The Diamondbacks get a B. C's for the Reds and Brewers. D's for the Braves, Marlins, and Nationals. F's for the Rockies and the Pirates. Kratz, do you want to pick on one first?
You know what? I would say one of those A's needs to have a plus beside it. And to me, it's the Padres. I think what the Padres have done, I get it. They've had an A first quarter, but with what they have, with the people who they've lost, Jackson Merrill, Musgrove's not there right now. Yu Darvish hasn't thrown a pitch yet. They have absolutely had an A-plus first quarter because what they're doing is they're setting a different precedent for that division that it's not just going to be the Dodgers. And to me, the Dodgers were supposed to be there. So in their account, were they supposed to be a B? And you know what? The Rockies shouldn't get an F. The Rockies shouldn't even be – they should just get an NA or what did they put on your report card when you – an I, incomplete. They don't even get a grade. They dropped out. They clearly dropped out of school.
Expelled. Hey, for me, I know this sounds
Arizona
weird.
To me shouldn't have a B.
What should they have?
They should be a C because they should be better than what they are. To me, they should be a better team than what they are. They're 23-21, and I mean, I know they've had some injuries, but every team's had injuries, but Eduardo Rodriguez hasn't pitched very well. Corbin Burns, they haven't pitched the way we thought they would pitch going into this year. They're a negative run differential. I know you don't care, Scott, but that's telling right now. It's surprising me. They do play the Rockies though coming up, so they've got a shot to win 3 in a row.
About to get hot.
But
how do they get a B and the Braves get a D when they're missing their 2 best players?
Yeah, you're right. San Francisco to me should be an A too. The fact that they're doing as well as they are.
Agreed.
Because no one thought they'd be until.
I mean, they got B plus. So.
Yeah, but I don't know. St. Louis should be an A too because nobody thought they were going to be where they are either. I mean, you can't give everyone A's, but in today's world, you might as well.
I agree. I think you could make a case for the Marlins maybe getting a C. I thought they'd be worse. They're playing just as well as the Nationals right now. They're pretty much neck and neck, those two teams. They're a game apart. Did you think the Nationals and Marlins would be the same?
I think based on what we see, it's less expectations and more just how each team is playing. So that's why I don't disagree with too many of them. Like the teams that have the Fs are F teams. If you take away expectation, I think a lot of this list is spot on.
What about the American League? An A for the Tigers, an A- for the Mariners, B+ for the A's, Guardians, Yankees, and Royals get Bs. Red Sox, Astros, Twins, White Sox, Blue Jays get Cs, C- for the Rangers. Angels and Rays get Ds. The Orioles get an F.
Okay, so I'm going to go to my White Sox. How do they get a C? They're just as bad as we thought they'd be, right? Maybe a little bit better, but
they're 14-29. How do they get a C?
That's what I'm saying. Are the expectations to lose 110 games again? That's kind of what the pace they're on.
Yeah, that's
that's C. Like to me, that it should be lower.
I agree.
I mean, Texas to me, C-. I get it. There should be higher to me. The Angels are about where they are. Baltimore definitely deserves an F for what we've talked about. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, the Angels, Tampa Bay, I don't know. I mean, there's some of them that are questionable, like Houston, I don't know.
The Rangers are 23-21. It's not great.
Yeah, it's not horrible. And they're right in the division race.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little harsh. I guess everyone thought they were going to run away with it. So, I don't know.
I think
White
some
Sox
of them
and Twins
are,
both have C's.
I think the expectations on some of these put them where they are right now. Because, I mean, the White Sox should be in the D or F range just based on the fact that they're not a good baseball team. But on expectations, they're definitely a C, if not a B. I mean, they've soared past my expectations. To me, I think the Yankees
14-29?
Yes.
That's.
I thought they were going to.
They're going to lose 2. That's losing 2 out of every 3 games. That means they lose 100 again. That's what they were. That should never be the expectation. C means it should never be your expectation that we're going to lose 100 games again. That should not be. I'm sorry. There should be no team in Major League Baseball that goes into a season and says, we're trying to lose 100 games this year.
But they're grading what the roster looks like. And
I know, but they're grading from where it was last year. I get it all, but still.
They're not grading the organization. If we want to do that, we've got plenty of Fs to hand out.
They are a worse team. They were built to be a worse team this year. They got rid of Garrett Crochet, Eric Fetty. They want to get rid of Luis Robert. Like, There is no way you can say, you know what? I think they want to they want to win 100 games, or they want to lose just 100 games. There's no way. They would be happy with if they lose 110 based on what they put into this team to win. I thought the Yankees should be in the A category. They lost their ace to start the year, and maybe people will say, well, without Aaron Judge, well, who cares? They have Aaron Judge. To me, I think Aaron Judge puts them squarely in the A. If you want to, they're not as good as the Tigers, so you give them an A-. Great.
Hey, if you have other thoughts and you're watching this after the fact, send us a comment. Let us know where we're right, wrong, or where they're right or wrong. Coming up next, Pete Rose's lawyer, Jeffrey Lenkov, joining FT. Sometimes we get the asks for lightweight hoodies, and I'm like, they exist. They're awesome at Rowback.
Without a doubt. Comfort, lightweight, durability. I wear these all the time. The color schemes are absolutely phenomenal.
Go check it out. You can use the code FOUL on rowback.com for 20% off your first purchase. That's FOUL on RHOBACK.com. 20% off all shorts, hoodies, polos, and more. Go check out Rowback. We're back. It looks like another injury in the Twins game right now. Willie Castro went down.
No, he's up now.
He's up. Okay, heading over to second. They paused play for a couple minutes. Also, injury update, Ben Joyce done for the season. So there's Alden Gonzalez, super hard throwing reliever Ben Joyce, season-ending shoulder surgery today. The Angels announced. That sucks. I mean, obviously the Angels aren't doing anything this year, but it's fun to watch a dude who can pump 105 plus. That also could lead to injury.
It's really hard to sustain that. The one guy, and he's kept his velocity, is Aroldis Chapman. Go look at his physique and then tell me, you know what? It's going to be tough to stay healthy throwing 105. And that's maybe a bad narrative by me because he worked really hard to get his velocity up to where it was. And it's so crazy to think a dude throwing 97 can jump his velocity 8 miles an hour. His peak velocity, 8 miles an hour.
I will say Ben Joyce is a pretty built dude. I mean, I don't think he stacks up against Aroldis Chapman, but I mean, if you look them up online, they're basically the same. Aroldis is listed 6'4", 235. Ben Joyce is listed 6'5", 225. So it's not like you're looking at a guy, who's 6'1", 180, being like, hey, this guy shouldn't be pumping 105 or he's going to get hurt. We also just don't know how all this stuff works too well. I mean, he also just could have gotten hurt, have a shoulder injury.
Guys get hurt.
Guys throw 85 at get shoulder injuries.
Mm-hmm.
We need to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
But it's
what else can they do, though? With Ben Joyce, he's a reliever. He doesn't pitch every day.
Right.
They protected him as much as they could. They were like, he's not going to throw back-to-back games and this and that. I mean, maybe we don't throw enough. Just saying.
Real baseballs. Not heavy balls, not McDonald's house balls. Real baseballs.
We're looking forward to this. Jeffrey Lenkov joining us right now, great lawyer representing Pete Rose as his attorney, and has been very, very involved in this entire process with the news that we find out Pete has been reinstated and is now eligible to be a Hall of Famer as well. Jeffrey, thank you so much for the time. I know it's been a huge week. I'm going to open up the floor here to start and just tell me how the last 48 hours have been for you. And did that include some important phone calls?
I mean, the getting the decision and the aftermath has been tumultuous, great, but hectic, all of that. And then giving the news to the family and then, flying last night, attending the event last night in Cincinnati and flying back this morning. It's been a pretty crazy 48 hours.
All right, I want to start at the beginning. How did this all start? How did you get involved with the Pete Rose case, and how did this all start to where now he's reinstated with a chance to go into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I grew up in Montreal. I was a big Pete Rose fan, but I had no intention of ever sort of positioning him for reinstatement. But I got to know him, and I produced a show on Fox called Whip Around, where Pete was the central figure. It ended up winning the Emmy. I got to know Pete. I got to know him behind his gruff exterior and started to really get to know him as a person. I did a book deal with him. And then really in 2015, he wanted me to join a legal team that he had, some other lawyers he knew, and I didn't like their approach to MLB. So I didn't participate in that petition for reinstatement. And then because that went awry, I sort of took it amongst myself and said, someone's going to have to do it right. And it took me 9-10 years to do it right.
How would you have done it differently to start to hopefully have gotten this happen before Pete passed away?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've thought about that. I wasn't in the room when Pete in 2015 met with Manfred and his crew. Commissioner Manfred is very sophisticated, a lawyer. You have to come into those meetings completely candid, understanding, and be sort of remorseful of what you've done in the past. I don't know if Pete did that effectively or if that was done, but he had an opportunity there. And because he lost that opportunity, those opportunities don't come easily. With the missteps that Pete did along the way post 2015, there was a lot of cleaning up that I had to do, a lot of shaping the narrative, a lot of understanding what Giamatti intended, and then having productive, credible, honest conversations with MLB.
Jeffrey, I was on Whip Around. You never got me a job, so I'm offended.
I would have, but AJ, you didn't need reinstatement.
Not yet. I haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
Life is still young. It's still young. But some people would say that I have. So it's fine. But when you met with Manfred this last time, you and Fawn, Pete's daughter, how does that conversation go? Because there's been a lot of pressure politically and from people all over the world saying, like, Pete needs to get back in. How does that conversation go with Manfred? Because you mentioned he's a lawyer, but Pete wasn't there to defend himself anymore. So it's basically you and his daughter in there with Manfred saying, here's our case. I don't even know how to start that.
Right. Well, nor do I, really. So, because it's a unique situation for anyone. But let me back up because you raise an excellent question, and I'll give you a foundation understanding what happened. So, for years before, leading up to the reunion event in Philadelphia in, 2021, I think. No, 2020, 2021. I was positioning Pete for a new narrative that he wants this and he wants to get back in the good graces. And there were missteps by Pete public where he makes comments that really don't position him well for reinstatement, because at the end of the day, Manfred has not just Pete to worry about, but has a game to worry about, has precedent, future Hall of Famers, present Hall of Famers, a lot of issues on his table. And I'm not saying that because I'm supporting Manfred. I'm telling you as a fact. So when we finally sort of aligned on, let's get a meeting on this, I was going to go to the meeting alone. And then it occurred to me, to your point, that, what's missing here is maybe a voice, the family voice, Fawn's voice on behalf of the family, on behalf of the kids. And I brought that in, and Fawn wasn't prepared, but she spoke openly and honestly about what this meant to her family and how they've sort of suffered through Pete's transgression or suspension. And I think that resonated. The human element has to resonate with anyone. If you met Fawn, she's an extremely likable, lovable person. And I think that resonated with Manfred, who was really open to hear the story.
Did you talk about this with Pete before he passed away? Like, what would his reaction have been when this news came out, had he been still alive?
Everyone people have it wrong. People think that he did publicly bristle at the Hall of Fame and scoffed at it, but that was a defense mechanism because he had been hurt for so long in denial and sort of misapproaches and, the feeling that maybe Major League Baseball wasn't acting quick enough. But all that is said, he would have been overjoyed. He'd be clicking his heels. He would have been slapping people in the back. He'd be telling everybody. If he would have seen the outpouring, I've been to many sporting events. I'll tell you, I've never seen sort of the rock star status last night had in Cincinnati, how they did it well, but more importantly, the emotional feeling of the Cincinnati, Reds nation. So he would be overjoyed.
By the way, the White Sox smacked them last night. Just saying. Sorry, Jeffrey. I'm Pete Rose. They smacked them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to ruin the night. Yeah. I'm sorry to ruin the night. I just couldn't help myself. But rock stars, the White Sox. What do you do as a lawyer, agent, when your client kept shooting himself in the foot with some of the things he was saying and doing? Did you ever just want to grab Pete and say, dude, just stop talking, stop doing things to not help your cause?
AJ, I think you were in many rooms with me. It sounds like you were on a spy. You were on a spy camera or something.
That's right. I'm in one of those balls behind you.
Yeah. I did it. I did it physically and in person many times. It's very difficult. What made Pete great was his headstrong, unique, I'm going to put everything on the field. But once you get to know a GOAT like that, you realize that they became who they are, and they are outliers different than any human beings on earth because they have a singular different approach to life. And Pete's approach was, if someone triggered him, he fought back. He grew up on on sort of the poorer side of Cincinnati, and he had to struggle a lot. So to him, I don't think he ever escaped him being the blue collar guy that when you're pushed, you fight back. The one thing Pete wasn't really good at, which a lot of folks are, he wasn't good at being political.
Yeah, that's fair, right?
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, you're right.
I understand.
We have,
yes.
Hey,
I understand.
Shooters definitely matter. Okay,
Yes.
So this part's important for me to understand here, Jeffrey. So in 2022, after receiving a letter from Pete asking for forgiveness, Rob Manfred said, quote, "I believe that when you bet on baseball from MLB's perspective, you belong on the permanently ineligible list. Then obviously fast forward, and he thinks that a determination must be made on what permanently ineligible means. Obviously we're looking at this like, why now? So let's also remember a few weeks ago, Manfred talks to President Trump. Also, MLB being in good graces with the government never hurts. Antitrust exemption, basically a legal monopoly, among other things too, right? You want to be friends with your local officials when you're asking for money for a ballpark, etc. How much do you think that factored into the decision just now?
Let me tell you a couple of things. First, whatever your political affiliation is, it never hurts, whatever your cause in life, to have the president support it. I would be foolish not to invite or accept support from any fan, official, and particularly the president. President Trump was a fan of Rose's. He was a big baseball fan growing up, and he was a fan of Pete's before he became president, both first term and second term. So the public, I definitely think that having the president out there talking about the issue helps accentuate the issue. But let's be clear, the petition preceded anything POTUS did. And Manfred had been open, and we had been discussing this matter for years. Manfred had allowed Pete to come in long before any president, whoever was in office in 2015, to be able to come in and say, look, present your case. So I think Manfred understood at the end of the day that it was never intended that the permanently ineligible list meant until the end of the world, until end of time. It meant for a specific impermanent time, a specific time, and that the bigger issue for Major League Baseball and Manfred, what would be the impact on the game? Certainly, as Pete aged, there was no further impact. He wasn't going to be a player. He didn't want to coach. What Pete really wanted to do was be a minor league coach. But he would have no more impact. So there was a clear line of legitimate authority to be able to argue that the ineligibility ends upon your lifetime.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I have two questions for you. First of all, what do you say to people like myself that don't think Pete should ever get into the Hall of Fame? And that's my opinion, I know, and you have a different opinion, and I'm fine. But like for me as a former player, he broke the cardinal rule, and that's it.
Right.
And I don't think, and I know he still has to get in, but what do you say to people like me that think he should never get in?
Well, first of all, I respect your opinion. You're allowed your opinion. Your opinion matters, actually, because you gave it all in the field. You played, and you're from a perspective that's different than I, who played, Little League ball. But let me answer your question directly. While I respect your opinion, I think that the Hall is a hall of really what you brought to the field. It's not ultimately a hall of moral turpitude, ethics, and people can argue that it is. But if you go that route to analyzing the human frailties of each potential admittee, then you got a real problem. Then you may only have 5-6 guys in the hall because everyone made mistakes. Everyone has good and bad that they've done. And if you go through the Hall of Fame's roster, those plaques, and you walk through that really special room, there's a lot of folks that have some baggage. And I think that you should have a hall that represents the game. And when you're talking, AJ, about what someone brought to the game, I think as a player, you would agree, though, certainly, that what Pete brought to the game, what he physically brought to the game, both in his accomplishments, achievements, and the mere passion and will, is completely Hall of Fame worthy. But I respect your argument, and I understand the argument. I just think that it's a hall that if you're going to tell the story of the game, you got to include him. And I think you got to consider what to do with Clemens, Bonds, and the rest of the folks, because the issue's sitting out there. Let's end it one way or the other.
Okay, listen, I agree that nobody's perfect, and trust me, there's a lot of dudes in there that did a lot of things that are not legal and all that. I get it. It's fine. I just wanted your perspective. We don't have to get into a discussion on it. Now, the next thing is 2027 is when Pete's eligible for the Hall of Fame, the next vote. What does the mood change for everybody? Everyone's excited. Oh, Pete. What happens if he doesn't get in 27? Does that change anything, in your opinion, on his chances or how people feel about this subject?
Yeah, I think the fresher the issue is, the more people are going to pay attention to. I think if he goes first round or whatever ends up being decided, as to the voting, then I think that could hamper his chances. But I'm not really looking that far ahead. I'm really looking at the fact that how do you make the argument now that he is appropriate and should be in there? That's what I'm focused on.
My last one here for you, Jeffrey, is any conversations that you've had besides obviously with the commissioner that have stood out throughout this entire journey.
A lot of folks, and I'll sum up rather quickly because we're limited on time, I bet, but I'll tell you that he has always been gracious. There's a guy in that office named Pat Courtney who's been incredible. Dan Halem. I haven't had one moment where they haven't been willing to listen. It's not like, I say that, it's not like they've given me everything I wanted. I've had to go through 9 years of it, but they've been professional and willing to listen to me at all times.
Jeffrey, really appreciate the insight and the time. I know it's a busy time, so this is the baseball show, right? TV pod, the whole deal that, a lot of people look to for these kind of real conversations. So thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And at least for now, I'll say, I think it's worthy. Congratulations on the accomplishment here to actually get this across, because I know it was a difficult case.
I appreciate it, guys. You guys have a great show. I'll be getting him in despite AJ, but we'll talk again.
It's okay. Hey, listen, I respect you. I respect the job you did. And listen, I respect Pete as a player. Some of the things he did after that is not my thing. But as a player, Pete was one of the greatest. So, You know what? Good luck to him in the Hall of Fame. But, and I appreciate you coming on and discussing it, because it is a big news story. And you were in the heart of it. And I always like to hear the inside stuff of how things go down, because that's what the intriguing and the important part is how did we get from A to B? Don't tell me A or B. Tell me how we got there. And to hear what you said was awesome.
Thank you, guys. Be good.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate you, Jeffrey.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Lawyer for Pete Rose, obviously. Great topic. And a lot of people love Pete. It's a good combo. Hey, this is good. Win one for Pete. Win one for Pete.
I did yesterday, baby.
About it yesterday. It happened. That's
right, Pete.
We were texting about it last night. BetMGM locks. AJ's biggest hit of the year.
Oh, by far. I mean, the positives. You guys can't say that.
Nope, we can't.
It's okay.
Right.
I'm confident of how I got to where I did, missing every one of them until today.
Miss every shot that you take, and then keep shooting. So anyway, all right, let's look at Wednesday's locks for a quick second. AJ was the hitter, and people are joking about Pap. They're like, Pap's little fade play this year is not working the same way that it did last year. Now, in fairness, he's still up. I mean, he's up like $20, but people are like, hey, keep going against my team.
Yeah, me.
Right, you. Well, last night, Cincinnati was in the money line pick. He did also, I think, mess up, and it wouldn't have made a difference. The Dodgers won, the Rangers won against, two.
He got confused.
Yeah, but either way. All right, let's get back on track here. So you're up first, big money man. Up $3.
Well, now that I'm in the positives, I have to clean it up, and I also have to look at what I picked. But I'm going over 6.5 punchies. I know we had Bret Boone on. I love you. Strikeouts against the Rangers. Over 6.5. And then I'm going under 15.5 outs for Osvaldo Bido against the Dodgers, because he only goes 5 innings like every time he pitches.
Okay.
So that gets me to plus 200, betting 100. But all good. All good. I'm in the positives. You guys aren't. So nanny boo boo.
I'm going against a Kratz pick from earlier. I'm taking the under on Hunter Brown's strikeouts tonight. Kratz. He's at 6.5. So, and it's at minus 1.
You went under?
I went under.
So we're going against each other.
The Rangers are going to make more contact with Bret Boone's old school approach.
Okay. Look at his strikeout numbers.
Okay. I love me some Hunter Brown, but you might get yourself 7 innings, 5 Ks.
But remember, I'm always one ahead of a Boone.
True. But I do think they're going to strike out less.
I'm just that dog who can't choose which owner to go to right now. Over on strikeouts, under on strikeouts. Over on strikeouts, under on strikeouts.
To be continued.
So, but the cons of being a reliever, you get paid the least of any other role on the field, like by far. Relief pitchers are the least paid guys on the whole team, on every team, right? If you have a really good closer, he might be like 5th on the team in pay, maybe, right? You might get a closer paid, but nobody else is getting remotely as much money as anybody else. A great reliever contract's like 3 for $25. If you get 3-year deals reliever, you are doing it. you're paid the least, and for the casual fans, the fans that just kind of don't watch as much baseball, that maybe don't value relievers very much, you're either just doing your job, which is throwing 1, 2, 3 innings, or you're blowing it. So you're either whatever, he's just doing what he's paid to do, or you suck. That sounds a lot like a kicker to me. That's why relievers are just the kickers of baseball, in my opinion. I said that a lot. I'm going to say it again. There's also no above and beyond. Like in the same way that you're either just doing your job or you're terrible, it's kind of hard to get any recognition for doing anything. Like you have to like not give up a run for 4 months, which is really hard to do. And that's the only way anyone notices you, basically, if you're not a closer. Now, closers are in their own little group, and we've talked a lot about that. But I'm just talking most relievers. 7 of the 8 guys out there are in this bucket.
Trevor May-splaining, really good. This is exactly the way I wanted this to go. By the way, check out his show on Mondays. It's really good. It's live, and then we've got it afterwards too. Kratz, I see a puzzled face, and I think it's the same face that I had while I was watching the clip. It's reliever or backup catcher?
Don't even point at me. Point at this guy. This guy was an all-star. This guy played every single day. Catching is easily the least paid position in baseball, even for the best catchers. For what they do, what they bring to the field, easily the lowest paid. Relievers, look at the Rays. If you are not the closer, the Rays are just like, we got more in AAA. We got more in AAA. We'll just get another one. Especially now, everybody throws hard. Like, relievers are, I call relievers regional sports network fans, because every team knows their 7th, 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, or 6th, 7th, and 8th inning relievers, because they watch you every single night, and those are the dudes that they're going to in big wins. Maybe nationally they don't know you, but.
Listen, catchers have gotten better.
Yeah.
But also the problem with the catchers and the relievers too, catchers are compared to every other position. But it's not fair because catchers don't get to play and put up the numbers because you don't get to play 150 games, 160 games. Like if you get to 130, you've had an unbelievable year as a catcher. 120, if you get over 100 games as a year as a catcher, you're doing a lot.
Also,
okay? And so that was the argument for years. Even like we had Bret Boone on, we're talking about WAR. Like you start comparing WAR, but you're not WAR against other catchers. You're WAR against the rest of the league. And that's not a fair comparison because you can't get up to it. You just never can make up because you don't get enough games.
That's why when I go over a stat like OPS plus, when we talk catchers, I go in.
But they're not. OPS plus isn't against catchers only.
That's my point.
It's against the league. It should be against other catchers.
If your OPS plus is 100 as a catcher, which is league average, you are above average because catchers are not going to hit like that generally. Yep. You should be compared in a different realm, right? Because you can't just grab a guy like Rafael Devers. I mean, maybe they'll ask him to catch if they get a catching injury. Joke. You can't just grab a guy. Exactly. Already. You can't grab a guy and just throw him in that position. It doesn't happen. Right? Never do we have that.
Shortstop. It's just like shortstop. You can't just grab a guy and say, you're a big league shortstop. You can play shortstop in the big leagues. Doesn't make you a big league shortstop. You can catch in the big leagues. That doesn't make you a big league catcher.
True.
Yeah. So, some relievers get paid. Some catchers get paid. The thing with catchers is that teams generally say in the model that they're going to wear down. There's a few outliers that don't, and that's why it's hard to get a long-term contract as a catcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in free agency. Like Alejandro Kirk got paid. He's still in the midst of his service time, right? Team control. When you hit free agency. Yeah. Remember JT Realmuto? Like he finally signed back with Philly. Nobody was out there. Nobody wanted him. His agent said it. Jeff Berry's been on this show. Yeah. He's like, nobody called for JT Realmuto in his prime. Nobody called. And they had to go back to the Phillies like, okay. And the Phillies obviously were like, we'll give you what we think's fair value. But there was no other team to even use as leverage.
That's why teams and players meet up and lock up on extensions before it happens. It makes sense for the catcher. It makes sense for the team. And They get a team-friendly price. Catchers get more long-term equity in the team, and they get it longer than they probably would get it if they go to free agency.
Yep. I'm with you. Slap hands next. Back to our BetMGM locks. Kratz, you're up.
I'm up, and I'm going on an under. I'm going Hunter Brown versus Jacob deGrom. First 5 innings. The under is, I think, minus 105, and it's at 3.5 runs. I'm taking the under in the first 5. I'm putting down 210 to win 200.
And there's the picks.
Okay. A lot of Hunter Brown action today. A lot of Hunter Brown.
Not a lot to choose from.
Well, yeah,
you have basically 2 games
tough.
you can pick.
We have 2 games. It's Thursdays are tough, right? So when you look at our ledger, know that we're picking night games. Most of the games going on right now are day games. Like, I'll steal AJ's line. I think the Reds are going to beat the White Sox. I think the Twins are going to beat the Orioles. Actually, it's 4-0 in the 8th. Twins up on Baltimore. That would be 11 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And the Orioles getting swept. It's bad. I know we talked about it a couple
15
times
and 27.
today, but we're getting close to the finish line in that game. Yeah, that's bad. 15 and 27. It's probably the record in the next 20 minutes if they don't turn things around.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anyway, BetMGM account holders, you can get in on some any sport no sweat token action. So that means if you don't win your wager, you get a stake back in bonus bets. Any sport. So if you're watching hoops or hockey because it's playoff time, have fun. But otherwise, baseball every night. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we got a few minutes. Do you want me to ask you a Bonds Rose question? Or you don't feel like going there?
No, fine.
So Moral, who in the chat said he just wants to know what's the logic with Bonds yes, Rose no.
Well, my thing is I've said it over and over again. Here's my logic. And I said it yesterday. If you get caught for doing steroids after they started testing, I have no idea what guys were doing before that. But I know if you got popped for doing steroids, then you should not be in the Hall of Fame. That's my stance. Mm-hmm. As a former player, I played in the steroid era. I played after the steroid era. I mixed them both in. I know guys that did them. I know guys that were doing them after. Okay? Some got caught, some didn't, right? But if you got popped, you shouldn't be in. That's it. And my thing with Pete, why Pete isn't? Because he broke the golden rule. You don't gamble. That's it. That's it. And by the way, don't tell me if you want to use the Bonds can't be in because of what he did. Pete wasn't clean either. He said it. I mean, he was popping amphetamines.
Right.
I mean, it pretty much everybody in that whole era knew that.
But so many guys were for some.
But that's my thing. If I don't know that you were doing it, unless you got that positive test, this is just me. And again, people say whatever they want. But if you got popped, you're out for me. I'm sorry. Because you willingly then were breaking the rules. Just like Pete Rose, when he gambled on baseball, he was willingly breaking the rules of baseball. Before they did testing, there was no rule in baseball saying you couldn't do it. Was it against the law? Yes, but in baseball, it wasn't against the rules of baseball. Gambling was against the rules of baseball. Right? And then once you start testing for stuff, that's against the rules of baseball.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line. Maybe I'm wrong. That's fine. It's my opinion. That's where I stand. And I'll die on that sword. But
that's good.
By the way, let's a little more positive. There's some great birthdays today.
What do you got?
John Smoltz, George Brett, Justin Morneau, Josh Beckett.
Can we get Smoltz back on? It's been a minute.
You can ask Steve Woodard, who went on a recruiting visits with me back in high school.
Hinch.
Also, Hinch's birthday today, but Steve Woodard threw BP to me when I won the Hall of Fame home run derby. He threw the BP to me. Pretty solid.
Legend.
Hinch, yeah, we don't know his first name, but Hinch.
Also, I got one for you. So Dalton Rushing has been known as one of the best catching prospects in baseball for a while, and the Dodgers are kind of just like, you don't have a lot of room. He's not going to be a starter right now, obviously, with Will Smith there, signed for life. But he has nothing left to prove. So they call him up, and, Alden Gonzalez said he'll get some time behind the plate, occasionally be called upon to pinch hit, but mostly one of the game's brightest prospects will sit. And his quote was, "I'm the young guy. That's my job."
Don't understand it.
What don't you understand?
Why call him up? He's not going to play. Right, Kratz? Why call him up?
He's going to get a start once or twice a week.
Yeah, but
no,
he was getting 5 or 6 a week in AAA.
When are you guys? Okay, guys, when are you calling him up?
You're trading him.
So every catcher that's in the system for the Dodgers needs to just keep getting traded?
Pretty much when you sign your catcher to a 10-year deal.
Okay.
Yeah, right, Kratz? I mean,
unless he's taking over. No, like he's not. He would have to absolutely annihilate the baseball to take over Will Smith's job for like a year. And if you have him taking over Austin Barnes' job, you are totally demeaning the value of who this guy is. I think he had 26 homers last year in the bushes. Like, this dude clearly rakes. You are not this is something that's changed a lot since AJ and I played. You used to never call prospects up to fill roles.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're doing it, which is weird.
Yep.
So he should play.
Hey, FT fam. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, Cam, because we're busy and we would like all of the ingredients to cook up something nice and make us look like elite chefs at home.
You know what I do? I've got kids in basketball, I've got soccer, I've got baseball. And when they get home, there's a fresh meal and they think, "Oh, Dad, he's so great." Well, no, it's not me. It's HelloFresh. It's nutritious. It's packed full of good nutrients. The kids have good energy, and they look at me like I'm the greatest dad in the world. So make sure you go grab that HelloFresh because you know what? It's doing my family all the good.
Cook up dishes like chicken Dijon and pecan crusted trout, over 100 seasonal snacks, sides, and treats as well. Feel great with meals that fit your spring schedule and make the season even more delicious. Go to HelloFresh.com/FT10FM now to get 10 free meals with a free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. I want to talk Dalton Rushing again for a moment. Just give us a quick Kratz Hatz, and then let's get into it for 2 more minutes before we go to Dodgers territory, and they'll obviously get into this too. Nice Reds cap.
Piece. They got a C for the season.
Wait, bring it back, AJ. You see a little dirt?
Looks like he threw it around a little bit.
Yeah. Is that game used?
It's definitely not game used. Maybe it's peanut butter from my pre-show snack.
Delicious. All right. I'm going to go against you guys. What else do you want Dalton Rushing to do? And if you're him, what do you want to do?
You want to get traded to a place you can go play.
Okay, but there's no trades in May.
So you play it out till June and July. When the Dodgers need something, they trade him. He's their #1 piece to trade.
He's 24 years old. Can't he be on the big league club?
Yeah, but you don't want to – if he's as good as everyone says, he's going to get stunted. So he backs up Will Smith for the next 5 years? Like he gets to play once a week, twice a week. Like
people get hurt. People hit IL. I'm not
okay, but that's great. But do you know what he would have to do to supplant Will Smith as the starting? Every person's dream is to be I can't say every person's, is to play in the big leagues if you're a baseball player, okay? But then your next thing, and I think Kratz would stick with me here, is to get to play all the time, because that means you're doing good, and that's how you get paid. By not getting to play and being a backup player, you never get the opportunity. It's kind of like what Trevor May was saying about the bullpen guys. They never get paid because they aren't valued enough, right? The only way you get paid in baseball is you put up numbers and you play a lot. Those are the two
league
things.
Minimum over the minor league salary. He's 24.
Not...
You think he wants to be in the minor leagues right now? I mean, like you guys said, he might get traded at some point. But also, the Dodgers are obsessed with depth in the marathon game. Maybe he gets more PT than we think. The Dodgers want to have that kind of depth because they're trying to make it to the World Series. God forbid there's an injury with Will Smith. They would have a really, really
Why
good
not just
backup.
stick around with Austin Barnes? And if there's an injury to Will Smith, you bring up Dalton Rushing.
Because Dalton Rushing is a much better player.
Okay. We'll see. He's never played one day a week in his life. We'll see.
Much better potential player.
Stars cannot, will not, and should not ever play 1 or 2 days a week. Austin Barnes, if he plays every single day, is not a star. Austin Barnes has had 200, 156, 104, 244 in healthy seasons at bats. You cannot do that to a guy who you think right now could be a possible all-star catcher in the big leagues. You cannot do it. No matter how good you are, you will not be productive as a bench player.
It's perfect lead-in. Dodgers territory. They'll handle
let's hear what Alana has to say. She knows those Dodgers.
Alana and Clint have fun with this one. Watch the show. We'll flip you over to that YouTube channel now.